So, paint the world with ARCore. How many of you here have used ARCore, heard of ARCore at least before? Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, I'm happy because not many people in my company heard of it, not even the Android developers, which was very disappointing. They weren't even amused by it after I explained, these are the cool things you can do with ARCore. You can do that, you can do this. They were like, yeah, whatever. So I'm just hoping you all might be a little more excited than me. We have some awesome developers here. I haven't really coded much in a long time, so I'll just try to motivate you or inspire you with all the new features that's happened. If anybody's having a deja vu or feeling of this has happened before, yeah, that's true. I did the similar topic 2 years ago. A slight difference is it was called bending reality with ARCore. This time we are painting the world with ARCore. So there's a huge difference. So my name is Sowmiya Selvakumaraswamy. I'm an XR developer at our group. We're acquired by this bigger company called NCS Next. So we're trying to call ourselves NCS Next. It's a lot of, we'll get to that later. So diving straight into this. So this is the initial promo image that Google released back in 2018 when they released this changing advanced technology called ARCore. So it was launched in 2018, and we're still working on figuring out better ways to make use of it. As it suggests, ARCore is an SDK that allows developers to create augmented reality apps. So as it requires high-end features like augmented reality, the sensors, everything is required. It works only on most of the high-end or mid-range devices. And if you go deep in, and if you want to use high features like depth that involves depth, then you need to have the latest Android phones. So let's go deep into it. So you're excited about ARCore. Now you want to dive straight into it, start making cool AR apps, and maybe create a competition for Snap or Facebook. Here's what you're going to do. So there are 4 options for you to take. You can either use Android Studio to build a native Android app, or go through Unity, or third option, Unreal Engine. iOS, I wouldn't suggest, don't do it. It's so buggy, so don't do it. Just if you are really obsessed with Mac iOS, then you might as well use ARCade. That's much easier and better way to implement augmented reality into your app. So let's dig into the first option, Unity. I know it's supposed to be AR, but let's deal with Unity because it's a fairly small concept. Has anyone used Unity here? Nice. Oh my God, you're gonna love this. So Unity is a game engine, as you all know, and they have used this AR foundation. So AR foundation is nothing but it basically uses ARCore for Android devices, iOS, ARKit. So it's just like underlying under that, and they're calling it like AR foundation, something fancy and new. No, it's not. It's just ARCore and ARKit. Which is fairly easier if you don't want to code and you want to go for an easier option. So it's without even writing a single line of code, you could just create an augmented reality app. You have the basic ones like target recognition, facial recognition, plane recognition, everything could be incorporated into one place. And as people who have not used Unity is basically a game engine. You could create. It has a better visualization. You can see how your AR would probably work like. You can see how your animation could look like beforehand. And also you can immediately develop it for different kind of devices, whether it's for iOS, Android, or even for Oculus. Oculus is basically hi-fi Android. So it's all put in together. So if you're someone who don't want to go into too much coding, then I would suggest you can start with the Unity version. It's fairly easier. Just install the plugin, which is already available in the Unity game engine, and you should be ready to get started. Now, the second option, using Android Studio. Yes, Unity is much easier. Unity doesn't even require code. Why would I switch to Android Studio? Because it's going to be a little more complicated because you're doing kind of everything on your own, and you wouldn't have a better visualization. The main reason is if you're doing it as a side project, it's all good. You can stick to Unity. But when you have an actual client, some of the things that we have noticed is they don't prefer going to a third party. So you're making an Android app for your client. They wouldn't want you to go to a third-party Unity engine, although the thing can be seamless. The transition of your Unity interface when you're accessing the AR would be seamless. It still takes up quite a lot of space, and you're still using the Unity platform and everything. But Android Studio can eliminate that, and you're straight away using it in a native app, although and more information on why Android Studio could be slightly beneficial will come up towards the end. And if you want to get started, you can scan the QR code over there. There's a lot of AR getting started features in that. So scan it and start right away. Can I go to the next slide? I'll give a minute for people to scan. Still seeing people scanning, so I'm going to give another.
What AR stands for?
Sorry?
AR.
Augmented reality. Oh yeah, you know what? Let's clear this first. Sorry. So AR, VR, XR, MR. I know there are so many words. So let's start with first. What I'm talking about is augmented reality. So augmented reality is basically the Snapchat filters and everything that you do it. Let's just keep it simple, that you use with your phone. So your phone acts as the device and you're scanning images and then funny, cool 3D models pop out. So that's all you need. You just need your phone and your cool 3D models pop out. Now, virtual reality. So as the name suggests, it's virtual reality. You're changing your complete reality into something virtual. So you need to take over. You can't just use your phone. That's when you get the Oculus headsets or other things, and you're taken over. It creates this perception of being immersed in a new world. So that's virtual reality. Now, crazy. Mixed reality. So that's like a baby of AR and virtual reality together. You're still wearing a glass, but you're not completely immersed. You are in the real world, but you also have access to the virtual world. So has anyone used HoloLens? Yeah, it's bad. If you haven't, it's okay. It's not. You're not missing out on anything. I'm sorry. I mean, it's fine. It's just that it's got it looks really great when you see a recorded version. But when you put it on, can't really quite replace your eye. So it's gonna be just so tiny and you're seeing the screen and you have to align it. But otherwise it's pretty cool. So it can understand you're playing. You can possibly have like an entire table set up, kind of like Iron Man, just bring up the atom and like do all the cool stuff, but with a very small aspect ratio. So that's the only problem. So that's mixed reality, like a mix of both virtual and augmented reality. Finally, XR. Extended reality. So extended reality is just the mother of everything. So it's just an umbrella term that is used to describe, because people kept confusing it. That's why I call myself an XR developer, because I do a little bit of AR, VR, MR, and everything. So XR is the mother of everything. The final one. This is the last, I promise. Metaverse. Yeah, you have heard it, right? People they don't even care anymore. Everything is metaverse. Anything that's got to do anything with digital, it's metaverse. So it's not metaverse. You can think of it like it's virtual reality, but there's a social aspect to it. Remember Club Penguin that we played back in the time? Children here, yeah, olden days, we have this game called Club Penguin. So it's like kind of like that, but then you are the penguin and you can actually walk around as the penguin, not just using your keyboard. If you can try out Allspace VR if you want to experience a glimpse of metaverse, which is the easiest accessible one. So technically, that's like the metaverse we can use. You should have aspect of social communication. You're not just existing there for a time. You have more, your personality gets there. You have your own avatar and you're interacting with people. You're buying something. There's more aspect to it. It's like a high-end virtual reality, we can say. Yeah, but nobody's going to believe the salespeople like the term metaverse. So everything is metaverse from now on. Let's just deal with it. So that's all. So if you have any questions, we'll get to that later. So now. Why did I talk about Unreal Engine? So Unreal Engine is just a fancy version of Unity. I prefer Unity because it's just much easier to move things around. It's very accessible, I feel. Unreal Engine is, unless and until you're going for a very high-end graphics, you don't need Unreal Engine. So stick to Unity, but if you're someone who's used Unreal Engine and wants to go ahead with it, again, ARCore is available, so jump in. So what are the features of ARCore? If you are aware of augmented reality, we're still pretty much the same features. Face filters, add a little doggy ears, doggy tongue, or plane recognition, or image recognition. So it's all still the same, but maybe more accurate. Doesn't look like it's dangling. It's got more accurate because the cap is more perfect. If you have seen the glasses, there is this term called occlusion. Occlusion is so important because that's how you merge real and virtual world together. So you can see this person over here, how the glasses are going behind the ear. Those kind of illusion you can create because of the new introduction in graphics. This is another cool thing that it looks like a simple plain recognition, right? You scan an image and then something cool, shiny thing comes up, but not quite yet. As the person turns out, it creates a depth perception. This is when things get really exciting. So this is the new depth feature that they have added, but it works only on the new high-end Android phones. But this is very significant because this is going to make you feel like this is truly an augmented reality experience. Now we are getting there. Okay, is it real? How is this working? It's really making you want to think. So yeah, now we are getting there. So how is this happening? So main reason how they achieve this depth API, that's a newly introduced feature in ARCore. So as you can see in this image, this is how, have you all played Pokemon Go? Yeah, so remember when it was exciting, we had the Pokemon, we threw the ball and it was all fun. But have you seen the Pokemon which kind of sometimes float around? If there was any object in between, it would probably look like the cat over there. It's kind of in there, but we were so excited about augmented reality back then we didn't really notice. We're like, that's cool, Pokemon Go and all that. But now you can see in the second image, this is what we can create. So when you, from the back-end perspective, so when you see you would get these color graded structures. So this objects in the front that would probably look orangish, object further away would probably look bluish, so you can kind of visualize. So you're giving your camera ability to visualize the depth and understand it, and then be like, okay, I want my cat or my 3D object to be somewhere between there. It helps you understand the distance, how further away. Maybe you want an object to move further closer to you. Without having the depth perception, we won't be able to achieve true AR immersiveness. And occlusion is exactly that. So this term where the 3D model is going behind another thing is called occlusion. And it would definitely have a better user interaction. Maybe I want to interact with my model only when I get closer to it. I don't want to interact with it. Sometimes we had difficulties. There was this app we created of bubbles appearing from different spots, but you can tap it at any time. We couldn't really create the distance, so you can only tap it when it gets closer to you. We couldn't really do that, but now we can do that because unless and until you get closer to the 3D virtual object, you can't actually interact with it. Second feature is geospatial AI. Now you can actually paint with your ARCore. So usually how it works is it uses your device's sensors and it understands this is probably the plane. It uses machine learning and everything and understands, okay, this is plane recognition. Let me place an object here. Now we are going a step further and using GPS and virtual positioning system by Google and combining all together, and you can actually get the geolocation, for example, of Google. I wanted to get a live demo. Sorry, I couldn't make it. Maybe next time. So I can get the Google's location and place the object over here, and it would remain there. Sounds good, but it's not really totally happening. There's definitely going to be some glitches. It wouldn't stay in the exact point. Maybe if I place it over here, it's going to be over there, or it's going to be floating slightly high above. And so one tricky thing I saw people doing is when they are trying to showcase, they create these dangly objects, something like a jellyfish. So even if it's not really sticking to the floor, you can just be like, that's the jellyfish is floating. It's not supposed to be there. So creative intelligence. I was like, that's not fair, but impress slightly. So play around with it until we get the tech right. This is something most exciting. You should definitely try it out. And you have the code. There are so many examples. So just get the code and you can run it out and play it around, customize it as per your requirement, and you should be able to get on with it. Finally, machine learning. Thanks for Patrick's, that amazing machine learning introduction. That's going to help me so much because I was like, oh my God, if they ask me anything about MLKit, I'm going to be gone. But if you have any questions about MLKit, you can ask Patrick now. So, yeah, he's over there. So this is why I said Android Studio could be handy, right? You can do cool things in Unity. You can visualize things in Unity. You can place things on a marker, but you can't use MLKit. You can't use other features that Google offers, like Vision API and 100 other things Patrick mentioned in Unity. You can only do that in Android Studio. That's when, if you have a bit of understanding of how this whole thing happens on the back end using Android Studio, you don't have to learn everything, but just get in there and try to understand it. You can, so here, this is what they have done. So it's doing object recognition. You're not finding a hummingbird. They're going basic and finding hammer and other flower pot. So it's recognizing, and it's also labeling. So you're putting these together. So you have done machine learning. Now let's do augmented reality. Snapchat did this interesting thing. So they have their own set of things. They don't use the machine learning models that Google has it. So they have their own little machine learning kit. We can also train it using TensorFlow and actually put it into Snapchat and all that, blah, blah, blah. So what they have done is it does speech to text conversion. So if I say, it's basically a face filter. If I say I'm hungry, it detects that I'm hungry, and then it pops up food around my head. So they used all this cool technology to have things pop out of my head. So maybe that's cool. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just, we should be able to. So there's so much, the amount of things that you can achieve with all the options that we have opened up with putting Android Studio, all these MLKit and Vision API, text to speech is limitless. So get in there and try to maybe something more than having 3D objects floating around your head when you say I'm hungry. Next slide is Cloud Anchor. I haven't really tried this, but it sounds really good. So basically what we have an anchor. So it would be extremely useful if you're doing multiplayer games. So I could have something placed in cloud, and it would again involve geospatial API. And two people, even if they're using iOS, they can actually track the 3D model. They can interact with it, which is exciting. But I've heard that it has a lot of glitches, but something we can play around with. You can do the same jellyfish, some tiki cheating behind it, and yeah, make it work. And that's the end of my presentation. Any questions?
Examples where you can interact with? Can you pick something up?
Not really, but there was this one time what we did was you hold a marker and then make it look like a pickable object, so it understands the marker. So the marker will have another 3D object to it. So I can make this 3D object and that 3D object interact with it. So I can interact that way, good thing, because now that we have MLKit, we could probably have hand recognition and then make it interact with it. So if it recognizes my hand and any 3D model is out there, I can actually pick it up and then say, hold on to the hand or anything you want. Yeah, is that what you asked?
In real?
Sorry?
Classes in real? Like that. They did new augmented.
I was like mesmerized by Oculus Quest Pro. I wasn't checking. I wasn't checking the other ones.
By Unreal, but they're a Japanese company. Apparently, they're really good. They're really lightweight. They just look like glasses.
Okay, that's amazing.
No battery. They just plug into device.
That's so cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Thanks for letting me know. Yes.
Possibly build something.
Yes.
But I want to do interaction. Say like a board game.
Yes.
Virtual board game.
Have even the Oculus Quest Pro, it has hand recognition added to that now. Yes. So you can actually move things around. So there are some games they have built right now, so you can pick things and move. You don't feel it, but it's kind of interesting. You can put into this pot with a magical potion and it turns your hand green. All those silly things is happening.
I've got a 3D model already, like a 3D world already in Unity.
Okay.
And if I then deploy it to ARCore, how hard is it going to be to interact with?
I think it should be fairly fine because we keep doing in Unity. I would say you can go ahead. You just might have to change the platform and make sure add a plane
I think that's the hardest thing will be selecting object.
Yeah, you can maybe for a simple thing you can just do a plane recognition. So as soon as your plane is detected, it places your 3D model in there, and yeah, you're living in your 3D world that you created. Yeah, right. Okay.
So since you spoke about different environments,
Uh-huh.
I would like to ask you whether have you tried Visual Studio and .NET Movie?
We use it actually. So recently, what has happened is we wanted to connect with AWS for an internal project, and that's when we couldn't use C#. So then I was not a .NET expert, so we got a .NET person to do it, and now he figured it out. So .NET comes in handy when you want to again put things together and add in so many things. So yeah, .NET is definitely helpful if you want to go a little advanced. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, just one question.
Yes.
Nowadays that we all are using QR code,
Mhm.
would it be possible to use the AR with those QR codes?
Uh-huh. Yes, actually, QR code would be amazing as a marker detector.
Yeah.
People want something fancy, so usually they would use something like this and try to track it, which is difficult for the thing to process. But QR code will be definitely a better option.
So let's say like for a restaurant, let's say I want to
Uh-huh.
order something, and then that means I would be able to see the plate before
Yeah.
ordering the plate.
Yeah.
And,
People have done it. There are quite a few demos. It's just really sad. This has been around for at least 4 years. Even I made the demo where you scan it and then the 3D image would pop up and you're like, okay, this is my 3D food. This is what I'm going to eat. But no one has executed it and actually launched it, which is Domino's has done it. Domino's, not in Australia, but in Europe, where you can scan the menu and you can see how your pizza would look like. That's it. It was like a promotional stand and then boom.
do you know why it's not that?
I feel like people just, their focus is more on just creating a hype, and then and then they just want to shut it down. They're not interested in finding a way to keep it going when there's more interest coming in. Obviously, should be able to manage it. Value stacking, that option is not there, so people just keep it for like a temporary basis. So if you think in a long term, we would probably be able to go ahead. Yeah.
If it helps, one problem that I've asked is like use cases was the maintenance components of it. So as your menu changes, like you kind of want stuff changing, you have to keep updating and creating really mode. So it's exactly like like putting a lot of effort running.
Give yourself an arms race.
Any other questions?
If anyone has it? Cool.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Sorry.
No worries.
Sorry. I love this page.
Oh, thank you.
So much. One thing I started to ask, I know you mentioned you said you Unreal's a little bit buggy.
Oh, iOS is buggy. Unreal Engine is really good, but it's it's all good. No, it's all good. So Unreal Engine is pretty good, but I feel like I'm more comfortable personally with Unity. It's very easy. By the time I open Unreal Engine, my Mac is just like crying for help. I can't do this, so I can't. I'm like, I would rather use Unity. Yeah.
It's so
Graphically intensive. That's exactly it. Yes. Yeah, that's exactly the reason. So if you prefer Unreal Engine, then go for it. Yeah, there was a time I was obsessed with anything Unreal Engine. So yeah.
So could you skip kind of squeeze in one more question? So can you, like, I've been using Unity, you jump past Unity and get into that, into building, actually jump straight into that without Unity?
I would say if you wanna, because you already know Unity, it would be easier to use ARCore through Unity. There are other ways would be through Android Studio, and that's like too much coding. I love coding, but then it's just too much. But yeah, with Unity, you would just have like if you go into project settings, it's like pre-built inside there. So you just have to import your AR foundation into it, and it's already happening over there. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad it helped.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.